That should be live. Okay. So, Niall, thanks for taking the time to speak with me today. First things first, do you want to tell me a little bit about yourself, and where you're at in your property journey?
Yeah, so lovely to sit down with you. Thank you for your time. In terms of my property journey, I've been investing with my parents for quite a long time. So for the past sort of 7 years, and we've been investing primarily in buy-to-let properties, some student HMOs as well. We're based here in Sheffield, so massive student population, and that's how we got started. So it's a bit of a sort of backwards journey because I know that people use rent to rent typically as a sort of
Yeah.
entry point, and actually we've gone the sort of other way around, just to diversify our portfolio. So we're sort of 7 years down the line. We kind of looked at rent as an additional strategy, and that's what we've just been looking to deploy to sort of balance out everything that's going on. I think one of the things that's become really apparent is that sometimes legal changes, legislation changes can just affect the profitability of just standard buy-to-lets. And so we've just been trying to sort of work out how do we create that sort of balance and diversification really. And so rent to rent offers a great opportunity to do that.
Brilliant. And is that where you started working with us when you were looking to acquire those rent to rents?
Exactly, yeah. So, for a period of time, I really took the time to sort of research different providers, different sourcing companies, because there's a lot of people who claim to be able to do a lot. And I think
Yeah.
it's really difficult trying to manage that minefield of sort of internet gurus and social gurus. And so, I really took the time to sort of research you guys and, obviously you guys are the real deal. So, yeah, it's been good.
That kind of leads me on nicely to my next question. I was going to ask, what's your experience been like? Obviously, for people watching who might be on the fence about working with HLE or just sources in general, what's your experience been like?
Yeah, I think it's been really, really good. And that's one thing that for me has been a point of difference is that personal touch. I've worked with Esther quite closely in terms of sourcing, and that's been really beneficial because as you'll find out from this call, I talk a lot. I'm very analytical, and so she's been really patient with me and trying to work out, okay, how do we work out something bespoke for you? And I think that's been the point of
Mm.
difference. I'm not here to sort of name and shame previous people but there are a lot of people who claim to do what you guys do, and actually you guys have been the real deal from that perspective. So I think the real point of difference has been that level of care and that sort of client service and that bespoke element. So that's been a real beneficial point for us.
I think it's a big thing you touched on it there, but in the market, you get a lot of sourcing companies who are kind of just want to push the first investment they have onto you. And I
Yeah.
think from our
Yeah.
side, we like you said, we do take a real pride and care in actually refining what is the correct deal, the correct investment for the correct client. Before you
Exactly.
started investing, because I know a lot of investors naturally there are concerns and there are queries. What were your main concerns before you started investing, especially in rent to rent?
Yeah, so I think the big thing for us is, well, was the idea of naturally there are peaks and troughs. I think with buy-to-lets and sort of standard buy-to-lets, you know where you are. Once you get a tenant
Mm.
in, it's sort of set over a standard AST, you know what you're doing. Even with student houses, every year you got to go through that sort of recruitment process, but on the whole, you can kind of really forecast where you are. And I think that was the element of sort of risk or the element of sort of unknown around rent to rent is that month to month, you're fighting for your living where that's concerned. You know that you have outgoings, but you also don't know necessarily that you've got that income. And so trying to kind of navigate that, was a challenge. But I think again, we took the time to sort of educate ourselves. So we didn't do the education through you guys, we did it through a different supplier. But again, really good and really helpful so that we came into this process fully aware of the fact that, sometimes things can take a while. There are sort of peaks and troughs. That's a natural, course of things, really. So yeah, I think that was really the sort of thing that was bugging us at first, but
Mm.
it's part of the game.
And what kind of helped you going from that position to eventually taking out your first rent to rent? What was the process like in between from our end?
Yeah, so I think from you guys' perspective, I think it was the idea that actually, and I think also it helps that we've got experience of other areas of business and knowing that it's business. Some days, some months are going to be up here, some of them are going to be down here, some of them are going to be in different. But I also think you guys reiterated that message. Even in the sort of first deck that I received, it said, you know, um, 70% occupancy is what we aim for, but ultimately don't expect that from month one. That's not how things go. And I think is that
Mm.
transparency. And again, just this dialogue and this real kind of real understanding and no one trying to force anything down our throats, where that can become a little bit like, oh, hold on, why they're doing that. Instead, it was this consultative kind of chat
Mm.
through and realistic conversations. I think that was a point of difference, really. Getting on the phone and speaking to Esther in particular was a big point of difference.
Yeah, and I think from our side, it is, like I said, just about understanding those needs and meeting them because everyone has different motivations, different logistical issues with each property. So it is essentially rather than just offloading everything we have, it's about finding the sort of direct match for yourself or any other investors.
Yeah.
You mentioned you've got two rent service accommodation units now. How are they performing?
Yeah, really well, actually. So we've just completed the first month. So I've just had a report through on one of them, and I'm expecting another one through as well. And I think, again, it's that idea of, that month one, while the listing is optimizing, while you're trying to figure things out, there's a transition period. So you don't go in there expecting, yeah, we've hit 90% occupancy. That's not how it works. So I think it's been where we expected it to be. And I think the biggest thing for us has been that first month and just trying to learning how to work with the management company has been really beneficial. That's been a really seamless process as well. The really, really good quality, the guys at Rose Platinum. So that's been good. I also think, with our Liverpool unit, it went live and within 48 hours we had a booking. So from my perspective, as long as there's bookings happening, it's scalable, right? And we can
Yeah, of
work together
course.
to kind of build that out. And so that's been really beneficial, just figuring out what works, how hands off do I want to be or want to do what works for us as a sort of dynamic as well. Where are our skill sets and where can we kind of jump in with the management company? So it's a bit different for us because we've got experience of running a portfolio. So we don't want to be completely hands off, but the management company have been really good in terms of understanding that and kind of again tailoring everything towards that. So it's been really, really good the first month.
Yeah, so it's more of a personalized service. I'm glad you mentioned there about sort of scalability because I think that's one thing that especially rent a service accommodation allows you to do. It's grow your own portfolio, and whether that's through hands
Yeah.
off or self managed, naturally, as I'm sure you can appreciate, with the hands off model, the whole purpose of it is because most investors are short on time, right? So having the ability to kind
Yeah.
of take out those investments, still see the financial returns scale up, whilst not having to put all your time and eggs into that basket is so helpful. Um, what's your plans
Yeah.
moving forward?
So it's exactly that. It's exactly to sort of scale up. And I think we'd always had the idea of, looking at a portfolio that is sort of countrywide. So not just cities, not just one specific city, but sort of saying in all major UK cities. And again, that's a different strategy compared to somebody else who might want to be really, on their own doorstep or whatever. But for us, we're wanting to kind of have a couple of units in key major cities because that aligns with some of our other business pursuits as well. So, on the other side, my wife and I have a hair and beauty business as well. And so it aligns well with that, having sort of city escapes and different kind of apartments and places around the country. So that's really what we're looking to do is to grow to a portfolio of say 10 to 12. And again, that's come from savings that we've put away. Not everybody can do that, and that's okay as well. So it's just starting wherever you are. But for us, that was always the aim, is to sort of build out this sort of nationwide kind of portfolio, really.
Brilliant, brilliant. And that's just through rent service accommodation. Are you still looking to acquire buy to lets, or is that on pause at the minute?
Yeah, so we're still looking to do that as well. But I think one of the things as well that we kind of learned is that buy-to-let is very slow, and that's
Yeah.
okay. But it can take a long while just to get £250 a month, and you're like, oh my gosh, that was a slog. So, but that's the nature of the beast, so we understand that.
Mm.
So yeah, we'll still be running that. We'll still be doing our student HMOs, but this just gives us a different point of difference essentially across our portfolio and a bit of cash flow here and now, and that's
Mm.
important.
Absolutely. I think it's so important that I know you mentioned it to diversify and not just go necessarily with one strategy once you're kind of off the ground. Just quickly
Mm.
then, Niall, one question I was keen to ask is what's one piece of advice that you would have for anyone watching this who's thinking about investing or even investing at the minute?
I think do your research as much as you can because even me saying how great you guys are, go and do your own research.
Of
Go
course.
and read up about you guys. Go and watch all of your content. Go and understand and understand that everything is personal to you. And so I can speak positively about the relationship that we've had with you guys because it's worked for how we like to work as well. So I would just say go and research, go and find out, figure out your fake gurus from your real ones, definitely, because and that is a minefield. So I would definitely say do that. That would be the first point of call. And then second of all, just do it, man, because it's business and give it a go.
Brilliant. Thanks so much for your time, though. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.